You're listening to Innovators by bcjobs.ca, Western Canada's largest job board. This podcast is about innovative companies with a focus on people. What sets them apart in terms of their leaders, company culture, and future outlook? As a business leader, what can you do to encourage innovation? As a recruiter, what can you do to adopt an innovative corporate culture? And as a job candidate, what can you do to stand out?
Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Simon, and I'll be your host for today's episode with Yvonne from PayPal. Really excited to have Yvonne join us today. She is the acquisition specialist at PayPal, one of the world's largest digital payments platform. Prior to PayPal, she spent some time at Hyperwallet Systems, Absolute Software, and even Sage Software for about 5 years. Yvonne, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of what you do at PayPal and your history.
Thanks for having me today, Simon. I'm really excited to be here today. I have been in the tech industry in Vancouver specifically for over 10 years, and I've been through ups and downs of the industry. So I've been through startups to working to large organizations, and especially my last experience working with Hyperwallet for over 3 years. We were bought out by PayPal in November 2018. And so, there was a lot of interesting things that had to happen during this time. And I'm really excited to talk about some of the cool initiatives that PayPal has coming up and some of the things that we're looking for as recruiters to join our organization.
Yeah, you mentioned Hyperwallet. You were with Hyperwallet prior to PayPal's acquisition. How has that been like, transition from a smaller organization to now one of the largest organizations in the world?
Yeah, it has been a very interesting and a huge learning experience for everyone who was a part of PayPal. Part of Hyperwallet. For us, Hyperwallet was a startup. We already had about just over 300 employees prior to the acquisition. So, when you think about, moving to a large organization like PayPal, there's a lot of people that needs to kind of move with it, right? And so, there was a lot of adjustment, from our culture to systems to leadership, pretty much anything you can think of. And for us as HR individuals, we've really tried hard to make sure our employees were taken care of. And one of the amazing things with PayPal was that they let us transition easily. They had people and teams that came regularly to our offices to train us on things that we don't know, really support us through the transition and making sure that, if we had questions that they were available to meet with us. And so we had people on site, prior to the acquisition and even during and after the acquisition that really made us feel like we had all the support we needed to really understand, what it means to be part of PayPal. I think, from the employee side, it was really more about being available to them. And so I think we did the best that we could to transition. And PayPal has been really generous with their time. And for us, we're just happy to be a part of this organization.
Was it difficult transitioning a relatively small company, 300 employees, to a large organization like PayPal? Was it difficult transitioning to match all of the systems that PayPal had in place? Even the leadership team was different. Like, tell us about that experience. It must be very different from just being a typical HR manager.
Yeah, it is definitely an adjustment. I always say you don't know what you don't know, right? So, you learn one thing and then you realize there's something else you need to know. And then you realize there's another person you need to talk to. But, it is a very slow transition. We didn't try to move everything at once, right? We were really strategic in terms of what was a priority for our employees and what needed to be done first. And so truthfully, we're actually still transitioning now because it doesn't happen overnight. And we want to make sure that we're doing the best thing for our organization and for our employees. And so even though we were acquired in 2018, we have so many systems in place for different departments that it did take time to strategically move it over at the timing that it made sense. So it was challenging, but, I think it's always an ongoing process when it comes to systems and ensuring that we're doing things properly.
Well, we're really excited to get into that, learning about Hyperwallet systems culture before and now the transition over to PayPal. I'm sure we're going to get right into, the culture, the people, and your hiring systems. But I wanted to throw you just a quick question. because the name of this podcast is Innovators. And in the space that PayPal is in, being such an innovative company, what are innovators in your perspective and what makes a good one?
Innovation to me is being really disruptive in the marketplace, right? And thinking outside the box. And so you can always have great ideas, and you can always talk about it, but it really is about the strategy and all the way through execution. So, if you have an amazing idea and you're not able to kind of see it through, then it really doesn't mean anything, right? And so I think with PayPal, we have really disrupted the marketplace in many aspects of the fintech industry and in the marketplace. So, we're able to send money to locations where people haven't had a chance to do that before. And you don't even need a bank account to do that, right? And so a lot of innovative products that are not even in the marketplace that I'm really excited to see come to fruition. With PayPal, I think we've already done that. We've already shown and proved that every product we've put out has been a true innovation, right? And so there's no other company that does what we do. We've done so much in terms of web and, apps and many more to come. And so I think most people already know us because they have a trust in PayPal. We've already kind of proven ourselves in the marketplace. I think most people know us as, you check out and then you pay for something and then you can use PayPal. And the reason why you use PayPal is because you trust that we have a strong security system, right? And you don't have to put in your information and you trust that we've done our due diligence to protect you, right? And so aside from being innovative, we already have the trust of the users that want to use our product. And so I think for PayPal as a whole, in terms of every product we've put out, it has been a disruptive in the marketplace. And we've done so much more than people would even imagine in the marketplace.
Well, during this period of time, COVID is such a big black cloud in the economy right now, and a lot of different businesses got hit, revenues declines, hiring freezes, etc. I've heard PayPal has been able to withstand all of these downturns. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what the last 2-3 months has looked like for PayPal? And you were mentioning some cool initiatives, some cool programs that are coming out for PayPal. Maybe you can touch a little bit upon that, and maybe talk about what you're excited about in the future as well.
So for the last 2-3 months, one of the amazing things about our leadership is that they have assured us that things are going to be fine during COVID and that there will be no layoffs, there will be no freezes. And so I think it kind of came from the top that we all knew we were just going to be okay working for PayPal and that we felt secure enough to be here. We also had COVID relief fund by PayPal for anyone in the organization who needs that fund. So we're able to support people with their families or anyone who's affected by COVID. So, things that we do as an initiative as PayPal is something that, I really appreciate because I know not every company has the ability to do that or would be able to do that. So for us, I've just been very thankful to be able to kind of see all that. In terms of some of the cool things happening with PayPal, we are getting into cryptocurrencies and QR codes. And we are doing a lot of, and it just actually came out this year. So I know a lot of people aren't aware of it yet, but basically we have the ability to use QR codes to buy goods globally. And so basically it's going to be an app where you can do touchless transactions, which is really important during COVID, I think, which allows customers to buy and sell in person and safely and not touch anything. And so I think this is going to really help the evolution of fintech and also businesses that are having a tough time. And for people who are scared to touch surfaces, I think, the things that we're doing right now is definitely really impactful in this business.
No, that's huge. And that's especially during this period of time of COVID uncertainty, the fact that PayPal is taking care of their employees, you mentioned with the relief fund, and then pushing forward with new innovative ideas. I think that's very important for not just the present, but the future. So that's really, really good. And you mentioned the word thankful. I think that's a very strong word and a very good word to use during this period of time, working for a big company like PayPal.
Yeah. And so, with these type of, with the cryptocurrencies and the QR codes, this was we've been working on this for a while. So, we already thought about this, what we could do to make it easier for everybody prior to COVID. So we're still have a lot of products that will be coming up that we haven't announced yet. And a lot of go-to-market products that I'm really excited to see come out of this. So keep an eye out to see what PayPal's up to.
Yeah, for sure. So I assume there will be no shortage of hiring activity for PayPal during this period of time.
Yeah, we've been very busy. We are just growing in all aspects of the organization right now, and primarily because of volume. It really is about, being so busy that we just need more people to help to build our teams, to build our products, and to make our products successful. So during this time, our activities have actually been busier than ever, as you can imagine, primarily because of the type of products that we have, right? And I think that it's really important right now to have PayPal. And it allows you to have the opportunity to move money around all over the world, especially during this time of the pandemic.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. You mentioned the QR code functionality, and that's definitely something that people are excited about. I mean, is that available right now, or do you know when that is going to become available?
We just made the announcement, so it will be coming up. So keep an eye out for it.
Okay, I see. And you mentioned a lot of different projects, the QR code, the cryptocurrency project. I'm very curious. You are one of the leading HR specialists here in the Vancouver office, right? Is the team based out of here or is the team based in the US? Like, how does it look like when it comes to your hiring?
Yeah, so we all work cross functionally. PayPal does have a large recruitment team. So there's basically two of us here in Vancouver in recruitment, but we all kind of work on roles all over the globe. And so my focus right now primarily is North America. So I can get jobs in Vancouver, but I can also get jobs all over the US. So my focus right now, because of the QR code project, I've been working a lot with San Jose, which is where our headquarters are. And that's kind of our largest office. So a lot of our hires come from San Jose, but we do have offices globally that we work with. So we do have a specific regions that we do focus on.
Right. What type of roles are you looking for right now for the QR code? I imagine a lot of developer roles, marketing, and all these other roles as well.
Yeah. So a lot of it right now, I'm dealing with a lot of marketing because it is going to be in market soon, right? And so I'm dealing with content designer roles, like social media roles. And so we're kind of in a process of really marketing. And so we definitely need that, need people to actually go out there and to talk about it and to make it exciting for us. And so right now, a lot of the roles right now, especially with the QR code project, is primarily on the marketing side. So it's already been developed and now we're pushing it to market.
Well, I want to shift gears here, talk a little bit more about the people, right? Because when we talk about companies are made up of people and more importantly, talented people. When it comes to people at Hyperwallet or at PayPal right now, how do you approach managing people? More specifically, how do you encourage innovation? And when you're managing people, how do you make sure that they continue to put their best foot forward?
So with PayPal, we actually have an innovative hub on our intranet. So internally, we're actually encouraged to be innovative. And we're able to put our ideas into this hub and they are reviewed by a team. And so, I think it comes from up top, right? Like when you think about innovation and, it really is about encouraging people to not be afraid to bring their ideas out. And so it's important to have the backup of leadership, the backup of your team. And so innovation is actually one of our core values at PayPal. So we talk about that a lot. And so it really is about, collaboration and inclusion, right? Because those actually come hand in hand with innovation. And it's also part of our core values because, it really is the support of the people around you to encourage you to be able to feel comfortable doing that and then not be afraid to have the confidence to actually do that. And so for us, it is encouraged by leadership. It's encouraged by our CEO. We have a specific place where you can submit your ideas internally. And so I think everyone knows that you don't have to be afraid to speak up and to bring their ideas forward. And so I haven't had any other company that has an innovation hub that supports that before. So I found it to be extremely exciting to see that. And you don't have to be a developer or, in marketing. I mean, I could submit a business idea for PayPal and it could be accepted. So anyone can be encouraged to do it.
Wow. Tell us a little bit more about that innovative hub. Is it something that happens like you can submit things all year round, or does it happen at certain points of like maybe the end of the month? Like, give us a little bit more detail about this.
So at PayPal, we actually have to do a lot of internal training, right? So that we know systems, what's available to us, and things that are more of the PayPal guidelines and processes. And one of the training is actually for us to understand that we can submit our innovative ideas to this hub. And so it is a part of a training that we learn about this hub. And that's how I knew about it. Because, when you're a new employee and you come into the organization, you don't know that there's all these tools that you can use, but they actually put it as a part of training where you have to learn about this hub and that you're encouraged to do this. And it is reviewed regularly. There's no specific time frame, but it is reviewed regularly. I haven't submitted anything yet, but you know that they are taking into serious consideration when you do have an idea, and that people will take you seriously when you submit something like that.
Are there incentives to submit? Let's say tomorrow you submitted a very, very good idea and the leadership team loves it. Do you become the lead of that project? What are the incentives to get them to spend that little extra time to submit these kind of ideas?
Well, I think it's just a cool opportunity to have PayPal take your idea and run with it, right? I think that's already a great incentive. But I do want to let you know that as a part of our employee culture, we actually can nominate individuals, like, for example, a colleague. If they've done something that you felt like was innovative, you can actually promote them internally and recommend them. And then at that point, when you get this award internally, you do get rewarded, like, one-on-one time with the leadership. You get certain things, prizes, through being recognized by your peer. And innovative is definitely one of them. And the requirement for being able to submit this innovation reward is that this person has to display that they've thought outside of the box and have looked at the overall picture, and having yourself put yourself in customers' shoes and to be able to work with that. So we have done a ton of things internally, even for employees, to nominate each other, to give them recognition for being innovative and being rewarded for it. So, maybe you might not get an award for submitting an idea, but you definitely get an award for displaying that to your peers and your leadership.
That's very interesting. You mentioned one-on-one time with the leaders, right, as being one of the potential awards. And we have a lot of companies come on the podcast that are, innovative, like PayPal, like Hyperwallet. And they talk a lot about having a flat structure. And with a company like PayPal, it's how many employees are there now? Hundreds of thousands, maybe?
Yeah, there's actually a lot.
Like it might be difficult, right? How does a big company like PayPal ensure that they remain as flat as possible, collaborative teamwork, and have that fun startup-y kind of culture?
It's really tough for a big organization to kind of feel startup-y. I think I can speak to more on the Hyperwallet side, because we still operate somewhat like a startup. And, with PayPal, even though we are a PayPal company, they still support that, right? I think there's just too many employees and different products and individuals within PayPal to have a flat structure. We definitely need leadership in different product lines, different business units, and different regions of the business. So having a flat organization might be difficult in PayPal, but within Hyperwallet, majority of us are in Vancouver. And that makes it a lot easier to have a flatter level of organization. And, for us with Hyperwallet is kind of approaches each other. You see leadership and you can just talk to them. You can walk up to their office anytime you want, even now, and ask them a question. And it doesn't even have to be a question. It could just be like, how was your weekend? And so with Hyperwallet, we are a close-knit group of people. And whenever you join our Vancouver office, it doesn't have to be Hyperwallet, because we've been getting a ton of people from PayPal joining us that are not from Hyperwallet. We've been very inclusive in terms of making them feel comfortable, ensuring that they feel a part of our company. And so, with Hyperwallet, we've been very successful, and we've always been like that. And so for us, if it's a smaller organization, I definitely think it'll be easier to have a flatter organization. But for a large organization like PayPal, it's almost, I think, impossible to have that. But I can let you know that everyone's accessible, and I can let you know that if you want to talk to the CEO and you submit a request, you can definitely reach out to him.
How is it like at Hyperwallet? You mentioned that Hyperwallet very much operates as a startup and almost like it's separate culture, right? Like, so how does the culture look like at Hyperwallet versus PayPal, right? PayPal is a little bit bigger, but how does it look like at Hyperwallet?
So PayPal has really allowed us to keep our culture in Vancouver. They have allowed us to continue with the things that we do. So at Hyperwallet, we had monthly employee events. Like we would go kayaking, we would go snowboarding, we go to watch improv shows. And so we got a chance to do all of that. And we also have a culture committee that kind of organizes fun things for us. And even during COVID, we all got surprise boxes from our culture committee. And basically it was a way for us to still connect with each other through Slack. So in the surprise box, we actually had games we can play on Slack. We had ways to like show that, how we can be collaborative. And we had bingo that we got to play. And so we still got to do that. And PayPal has been supportive of that, right? They didn't want to change the way we work because this is the reason why people want to work here in Vancouver. And so our culture has not changed in Hyperwallet since the acquisition. Yes, we do have PayPal guidelines we follow, but PayPal has been amazing in supporting us. So we are just continuing the way we are in Vancouver with our culture.
So how do these monthly, I'm going to ask you another question here about your monthly retreats with, you said 300 employees now in Vancouver?
Well, in Vancouver, we have 200.
200.
Globally, we have 300 for Hyperwallet.
Right. So how do you, what do the month end get-togethers look like with 200 employees?
Well, I mean, it's optional, right? So not everybody joins, but we do have a limit in terms of first come, first serve. And so when we went to snowboarding, we offered it to about almost 100 people. And so basically it's first come, first serve, right? But not everybody comes, right? Some people aren't into snowboarding, so you don't have to come. And we also have the kayaking, which I joined, but I didn't enjoy it. But I would go, but I didn't actually, really enjoy it. So I wouldn't go the next year. So it's completely optional in terms of whether or not, you want to participate. It's definitely a great perk for Hyperwallet at PayPal.
Gonna shift gears on you one last time here. We're talking about people a lot, but your main role here is hiring, right? Recruiting. I wanted to talk to you about, ask you a question about this because typically when you put the right team together, really anything is possible. And that's what you've done really well at Hyperwallet. I'm curious, how has your hiring process changed at all now moving over to a bigger organization like PayPal? Or is it pretty much the same?
It has changed. It has changed because as much as we have the Hyperwallet culture, we're still a PayPal company now. So technically we are PayPal and no longer Hyperwallet. So there's definitely a lot more people involved and more processes. As you can imagine, working for a startup, there really are limited processes. And, basically we had a very small team. So, we were able to make decisions very quickly. We're able to kind of move fast. And get things out, right? But when you do work for larger organizations, there are definitely going to be more processes in place, right? And I actually do support that because we have so many hires in a week, in a day, that you do need to put things in place to make sure things are consistent all over the globe, right? And so I know it's an adjustment for recruitment and for many different areas of the business, but I think it's necessary to actually have those guidelines in place so that things aren't missed or things are not done differently in different parts of the world. So there definitely is more processes, more people to deal with. And sometimes you're actually talking to people you've never met. You're always kind of building those relationships constantly. Whereas in a startup, you can just, who the people are. You can walk up to them anytime you want. But, that's why, building relationships is so important in recruitment, right? And you constantly have to build that every time because you might not even work with the same manager in the next requisition that you work for. So whereas before I work with the same people, so it's always quite, casual and you can kind of just walk up to them and ask them a question. Whereas now, you really need to get to know them and what they're looking for. But I think, it has been such a great learning experience, learning about PayPal and learning about managers and their teams that I like the change in terms of being able to kind of see the bigger picture and see the vision for PayPal. So that has been such a cool opportunity to be a part of.
So if I was interested in PayPal right now, how would the process look like now?
I mean, it will always be talking to me first. So I'm kind of the first round. You kind of have to get through me first. But my approach, with talking to candidates is always very casual. I think it's just better to have a conversation instead of trying to kind of follow a script or to ask specific questions because they do come up in conversation, the things you need to know about a person, right? So it usually kind of gets by me first, and I kind of make the recommendation, and then it goes to a hiring manager. And then usually it's meeting with the team, and then it goes, further into meeting the leadership team. So it really does depend on the department that you're working with or you're applying for. But for the most part, there's definitely a little bit more people that you do have to meet with in the bigger organization because there's more stakeholders and more managers and bigger teams to work with. So I think it's important for the candidate to make an informed decision too as to who they'll be working with. So I think it's a win-win situation.
So about 4 rounds then I can expect?
Yeah, I would say about 4 rounds. Yes.
Well, about 4 rounds. And then initially speaking with you, predominantly behavioral, or do you, because given your experience with a lot of different tech firms, do you get technical at all, or do you just stick with behavioral questions?
I actually, depending on the role, right? So if I was to do more of a technical interview, I work with the hiring manager to make sure that I kind of get everything they need, right? Like if I was hiring a Java developer, I actually would have specific questions and I would work with the manager to make sure that I'm covering everything she wants me to cover. If I'm working, let's say right now I'm working on content, like a content role, right? Then the questions I ask are going to be very specific to content. But every time I have an initial call, even though it is a conversation, I will definitely bring up things that I need to ask, right? And I definitely bring up things that I know it's important for the manager, but more on the conversational level. So I'll do behavioral, but I also ask very specific questions based on the type of role that they're applying for.
When you look around the office at Hyperwallet, PayPal now, what type of candidates are usually successful? Is there like one type of person, for example, really into technology or really into financial payments? Like when you look around, can you give us an idea of what type of people you generally see?
Yeah, it's people come from so many different backgrounds, but I think one of the most common things is that everyone is passionate about fintech, and what it has done for the market and how it's changed the way people do business or how they, include people that never had access to money before. And so it seems like a lot of people that I'm talking to that have been very successful are people who are completely passionate about making a difference, or they have a story about their family where, they didn't have the means to transfer money or they couldn't get to funds and, they want to make a difference. And so the people who have been successful are people who are really passionate about this industry and want to make a difference.
I'm guessing that is one of your questions during your interview process.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But, sometimes it comes up without me even asking why they were interested, and they kind of start talking about that. And that's why the conversational based questions and the way my approach is, I completely love it because people just bring it up anyways as to why they're so interested in working for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, PayPal is by far one of the largest, if not the largest, and I don't know the actual statistics, fintech financial payments companies in the world, right? So when you're interviewing for a company like that, you better know your stuff.
Yeah, and that's important. I think that's a key thing to bring up is that know what we do because there's a lot of candidates that come through that don't know what we actually do. So
Yeah, hint for any of the candidates listening right now.
yeah, exactly. We're not just on websites when you online shop. There's much more to us than just online shopping.
I know we talked about the QR code, we talk about the cryptocurrency. Is there anything else that is kind of looming in your industry that you're really excited about over the next 4 to 5 months?
Yeah. So, well, for us, we have, again, so many products. We actually recently bought a company called Honey in Los Angeles. They are basically a company where when you do checkout, it kind of coupon hunts for you. So, yeah. And so when you do see the Honey logo, it's PayPal, but that acquisition just happened and we're transitioning them into our organization as of now. And basically they're going through the exact same process as they did with Hyperwallet when we transitioned. So I know exactly what they're going through right now. But, it's really exciting because we're constantly adding to it. And so when you think of PayPal, you don't think of online coupons, right? But it really does add to our services and offering. And so that's happening right now. And that's what I'm really excited to see how we can incorporate that into our services and, how we're going to market this product. And so more to come on that.
Wow, that's very exciting. So you got some QR code, you got a couponing website, you got cryptocurrencies, and just worldwide money transfers. That's sounds like a pretty getting it pretty large.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, I'm just waiting. I don't know if people are aware of Venmo. That's mostly in the US, and
in the US, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's coming to Vancouver or BC or Canada, but I'm just like hoping that it will come to Canada. Is also a PayPal company, Venmo, and it's in the US right now, but I'm like, okay, I'm just rooting for them to come to Canada. So that would be an awesome thing to see as well.
We're very excited about all the different projects that you have ongoing, and even more excited that you're growing here locally in Vancouver. So very excited to see how you guys look like in the next 6 to 8 months, even further down the road. Well, I'd like to open the floor for you to say anything you want. It could be, you can expand further on QR codes or crypto or whatever, or anything that you're doing personally or in collaboration with another organization.
Yeah, so I do want to say that for many of you looking for work right now, it is okay not to find your dream job right away. I do want to say that there's a lot of people who start off not in a place where they want to be. It's not their dream job, but you do start. And I think every opportunity is an opportunity and a learning opportunity for you to kind of move on to something else differently. For us at PayPal, we have so many people who start in a customer service role, and now they're our business intelligence team. They've gone to marketing. They've gone to payment operations. And so I just encourage people to really kind of open up your doors and looking at things differently. I know it's a tough time in terms of job searching right now, but I also think you should be open-minded in terms of the type of role that you're looking for. And so with PayPal, we encourage internal movements and transfers. And I always say, every opportunity is a good opportunity. So don't let that pass up just because you don't see something that's specifically what you're looking for. So
is there any way, like for candidates that want to keep in touch with PayPal and see your interesting initiatives like the QR code technology or even any kind of roles that are opening up locally, what's the best place for them to keep in touch? Is that LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Or
yeah, we're all LinkedIn, but the best place to go is our website. All the updates on all our products, all our initiatives are actually on our website, www.paypal.com. And we always have things. We have press releases that come up. We have articles that come up all the time. And so if you go to our page and also a careers page, it's all our updated job postings are there as well.
I will leave it there for now. For everyone that has tuned in, thank you so much for listening once again. And until next time, take care, be safe, and consider checking out paypal.com for any cool initiatives like their QR code technology or cryptocurrency. Thanks so much for joining us, Yvonne.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, everyone. This is Simon, Vice President of bcjobs.ca. BC Jobs is used by hundreds of recruiters and over 200,000 candidates per month. We also run career fairs to help support the jobs market. We regularly run career fairs both in person and virtually, with up to 400 candidates per career fair. Visit bcjobs.ca to discover jobs locally and remote.